So I'm Joe Cahill, and this is our project titled Normal and Peak Water Demand, a social practice analytical toolkit. And I'm the research associate on this with Dr. Alison Brown and Claire Van over there. Next slide, please. So just some background and aims. So the project is a 24-month knowledge transfer partnership between the University of Manchester and RTC Consulting. You are a small data-driven water consultancy firm based in Bristol, and we're at month 11 at the minute. So our project is mainly concerned with how we forecast, manage and reduce water demand in the face of increasing stresses, climate change, drought, pandemics, conflict, deep breath, as well as its connections to greenhouse gas emissions associated with water use more widely. But there are those wider sustainability benefits, wildfires in connection with water demand, resource consumption, and whatnot. So current demand management approaches in the water industry are limited in accounting for changing everyday practices. They rely much more on the when and what in previous sort of heat waves, and they don't really consider the how and why. So our project seeks to generate new methods, incorporating social science insights and methods with traditional data science. Next slide, please. So just this graph on your screens now is something taken from RTC Consulting, and it's water consumption from 200,000 households from June 2019 to June 2020. On the x-axis is hours of the day, and on the y is the March 2020. The darker colour where it jumps right up is when we all got up later because we weren't going to work, where we were using water more throughout the day because we were at home, and then we can see some in use in the evening. So combining this with sort of social science insights, so this is what RTC do day to day. Combining this with social sciences would give us more of a method to explain the how and the why. We'd understand more why this is synchronized and why our behaviors change under this context. Next slide. So just briefly on our project impacts, we aim to gather more evidence and insights into those sort of behaviors, routines, household water use. And we aim to bring together the traditional data analytics and data science within RTC Consulting with social science methods and theories, and we aim to develop a water practices analytical toolkit, which will be a unique approach for understanding and managing household water demand. And we'll go through how to apply sort of social science insights, primarily social practice theory, and how to use it, where it's useful, and how to take this further. And then just finally, we'll also create sort of new demand analysis tools and services within RTC Consulting using social practice theory and social science insights. So where in their existing business practices and data science team can they use social sciences is the new services that they could offer to the water industry to enhance our understanding of behaviour and improve forecasting. And next slide. So just briefly on our research methodology, as I've just gone through, we use social practice theory in a mixed methodology. So that traditional data science, like that graph that you saw, mixed with more qualitative data to understand normal and peak household water demand. And we aim to combine that, as I've just said, with the traditional data science capacities in RTCF. So just briefly, what is social practice theory? So it's a set of ideas that enhance our understanding of the everyday practices which lead to household water consumption. So it's not looking at water the resource, instead it's more focusing on the shared collective practices, laundry, gardening, etc., showering, where water is used. And it's exploring sort of how these are influenced by the wider social, cultural, political networks and systems which we all operate in, going to work, school, seasonal patterns with weather. Just briefly in one sentence, SPT, social practice theory, is concerned with how people use water, why they do it and what they use to do it. And that's the crux of our project, getting this into the water industry, into a data science company. So next slide, please. So just briefly on the research progress so far. So the main bulk of our first 11 months has been around exploring how social practice theory has been used in water demand and co-designing a theoretical and methodological framework, which we can then test in our primary research phase over the summer, and then develop into a toolkit, which will be shared across the water industry, and then develop that into practices and services within our TCM. And then one of the big things we've been doing over the last 11 months, so my time is fully seconded to our TCM consulting, so I'm actually very rarely on campus. I work fully with the team at our TCM. We've been embedding this within their practices, and we've been thinking through with the data science team, which is over half the team, how can we get them on board with sort of social science insights? How can we get this in the work that they do day to day, and where can we develop new services then to get deeper and enhance their understanding of our everyday practices and behaviours that lead to water use. So just the final slide is the 5 sort of major challenges that we've identified so far. And these here, if you've got any thoughts on these, please do share afterwards, because this is really part of what the project's about. It's about exploring these challenges and identifying them, as well as outlining what doing what I've just outlined, sorry. So the first one has been accessing smart data. So as part of our primary research, it's a mixed methods between qualitative methods, so talk-based focus groups, interviews and home tours, with the smart metering data and with high-res water consumption data. And accessing that has been, we face pressures with this. It's an unfolding challenge that is impacting timelines a little bit. And this leads us on to the next point. The reason why we've been challenged with this is the different organisational practices, security measures and protocols with this kind of data, making collaboration more complex. We've got a range of water companies on board to work with those, but they all have different sets of rules with this. They're all at completely different stages with deploying smart metering with their customers. And this just makes the whole research process and designing those practices even more sort of complex. Then the next point is the ethics of accessing this big data. And I think this comes off of that point with the water companies. They can be a bit wary to share this data because it's new to them, and around consent with consumers. A minute, sweet. So this feeds into the much larger questions in society around using sort of big data, and then the next point of public engagement and customer buy-in. The data has been gathered, it can be completely different from its original purpose if we use it for research. What are the ethics around that? Is that appropriate and is that right? And then finally, sort of all 4 of them accumulate in this dealing with uncertainties. You know, we're faced with time and resource pressures. We've got 24 months to deliver this. How can we do that in the context of, you know, different complexes? And how can we manage if we're faced with a complete barrier to access this data? And how can we still gather those insights? So just the final slide, the very final, is just the full team's contact details. Thank you for listening. The team at the top is the University of Manchester, and then the bottom 3 are at Artesia. Thank you.